My name is Victor Bahl. I work for Microsoft Research, and I'm the director of a new center called Mobile Computing Research Center, or MCRC. It's a mission-oriented center. The mission of the center is to invent technologies that make Microsoft's devices and services indispensable to the user. And it's a sort of a well-thought-out mission because the word invent means research, and then having Microsoft inside the mission statement means that the stuff we are doing is quite targeted towards Microsoft products. And then indispensable means that to do work that is not just incremental work, but quite creates radically new user experiences. Before taking on this role, which is a very new role for me, I headed up networking research at Microsoft for 14 years. And and I still do it. We're looking for a replacement in the meantime. All right, so you want to know a little bit about what are my opinions about ad hoc networking and wireless networking in general. So I was this is the first time I'm coming to this workshop, and I was quite taken by the fact that it's been going on for 10 years. That does say that it has done well for itself to be around. But I must say that every so often we must look back and look at things and say what got us here or the things which kept us focused for 10 years. Are they still the right things to focus on? Well, I'm really interested in wireless, and in fact, in my talk, I talk about what a good time it is to do wireless networking and wireless communications. I do feel that there are many other new areas that one must go into beyond just ad hoc networking, and I talked about that in my keynote. So one area is networking in the low frequency ranges. That's really cool because it gives you better propagation properties, better penetration properties. There's actually a bunch of bandwidth available there that you can utilize, and so you can do sort of Wi-Fi-like connectivity, but over much longer ranges. Another area which I think is super interesting is at the highest frequency bands, like 60 gigahertz. There I talked about using wireless inside data centers. People usually think about doing wireless in higher bands for multimedia purposes, but there are other things to do as well. Similarly, in the midway, like 8 gigahertz bands, you can do things like ultra wideband, which is the 8 gigahertz band. I bring it up because it's available all over the world as well. So I guess my point is that there are many different kinds of networking paradigms that exist now that didn't necessarily exist 10 years ago. And so we must constantly keep reevaluating, adapting, and solving the right problems. But I'm really excited to be here because the set of people are pretty smart, and it was really good to meet them. So another thing that's interesting, and it's actually directly related to my new job, is the marrying of the mobile and the cloud. So if I may use a tagline from one of my colleagues, he says, to put the cloud in the palm of your hand. So in the mobile world, we are very resource constricted. So not enough battery, and the CPU is strong, but not as strong, for example, not enough memory, things like that. So it's inherently resource limited. And the cloud is very resource rich. And so the natural question for a researcher to ask is, given that we have all this networking available to us, can we make it such that we can use the resources of the cloud and provide tremendously good, let's say, a second generation of applications on the smartphone? So I feel very passionate about that area. And in my second talk, I actually talk a lot about how one would go about doing that. And there are more ideas than I can talk about in a short period of time, but it is a very interesting area as well. So because of the importance of this area, one of the first things we ended up doing was created an academic outreach program. And it was really exciting because I wanted to see how the students would react to that. And so in the US, we first partnered with 3 universities in last spring of 2010, to offer a mobile plus cloud program. The project name is called Hawaii. And the idea was that we as Microsoft would provide all the infrastructure services, And then the three professors from Wisconsin, UCS, and Duke University would actually teach courses and have students write programs on the smartphone against the cloud infrastructure that we provide. And so that was in spring 2010. In spring 2011, we continued with the program, but in spring 2011, 21 more universities decided to pick it up. So about 30 universities are now teaching this Hawaii program based on, teaching this course based on Hawaii project. And this allows students to experiment with really, really important services like OCRs, machine translation, and speech to text, things like that, putting it together in a cloud and writing applications from it. And it's been really successful and very heartening for me that it's worked out so well.